Chief, and as always, I'm here with Ambezy and Pastor C. And tonight we have a special guest with us sitting in for Pastor C. All right, Money Marvin, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Well, this evening we're going to serve you another top shelf issue, and this evening we're talking about patriotism. And of course, you know, the Make America Great campaign was a winning one for the president and the Republican Party. Agree or disagree with the movement, it was a consistent message that resonated with millions of people. And we can argue all day long about the fact of whether he won the popular vote or not, but the fact is the movement was real and the victory was real. But one segment of the movement was the subliminal and sometimes overt message that one select group of Americans had the market cornered on loyalty, pride, and patriotism. So the question that begs to be answered is what is patriotism? Now, according to Webster's Learning Dictionary, patriotism is love that people feel for their country. Love that people feel for their country. Real simple definition. Now, the patriotism of certain Americans now has been and is being questioned on a daily basis. For example, certain media outlets of American journalists have been referred to as enemies of the state. Protesting NFL players are labeled as traitors and unpatriotic. And even the revered agents of the FBI have been given unflattering names, just to name a few. So today, we want to talk about patriotism. And we're going to talk about a variety of things tonight, but we're around that subject. But we want to talk about what is patriotism. So Marvelous Marvin and Ambezy and Money Marvin, are you money today? Okay, Money Marvin and Ambezy. Tonight we want to talk about, does anyone have exclusive rights for patriotism? What are you guys' thoughts on that? Is it an exclusive thing?
No. I mean, it should be exclusive to the American people, but it just seems like nowadays patriotism is something that's dividing Americans more than uniting us. See, the idea of patriotism started out as having this great love for our country. And now it's like having love for our country is what splits the country apart, because some people think having love for our country is just going with the flow and not protesting when anything is wrong. It's going with the punches. But other people think patriotism is basically just standing up for something. Hold on 1 second, Straight No Chaser family. We are having some technical difficulties.
Okay, Chaser family, we're back on the air. Unfortunately, sometimes you have those unanticipated emergencies that you have to deal with. So we had to take a break for a second just to kind of get some things together there. But I think we got those technical difficulties ironed out. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you're dealing with the internet and all kinds of other things. So, Money Marvin, are we looking good over there?
Yeah, it looks like we're looking pretty good over here.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so getting back to the discussion about patriotism, one of the things that we have seen over the last couple of months is that certain groups of Americans are identified as patriotic. And the question that I had asked earlier, Money Marvin, is what defines patriotism? What is the barometer that measures how much of a patriot you are? So, for example, if I eat more hot dogs and apple pie than you do, does that make me more of a patriot than you do? If the flag of my house is a lot higher than yours, does that make me more of a patriot?
Right. So when I think of patriotism, I could certainly say that's definitely a spectrum. So there's a lot of different ways that you could exhibit your love or your passion for your country, and it's not one thing or the other. So like maybe some people are able to display their patriotism through the paraphernalia that they own, that you'll see on their cars. Other people are more so engaged when it comes to their country's affairs, fostering discussion. I just think it's certainly a variety of things that you can do, and it's not just like one thing in particular.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying there, Marvin. And so one of the things that we have to always consider is who is defining what the patriot looks like. So that's the thing that always amazes me when I hear, for example, when you look at the media folks. So why all of a sudden now are the media folks considered enemy of the states?
Because of our leader. I'm not trying to make this like a political anti-anybody thing, but the only reason why the media is considered enemies of the state, quote unquote, is because the person who is the head of our country and supposedly the center of patriotism is saying that they are. And so you have quote unquote patriots, like I said before we went into the technical difficulty, there are some patriots that are so patriotic for America, they believe that we should just roll with the punches. So if we have this guy who is saying anything when he's doing his speeches and telling America that the media is now enemy of the state, they're going to believe it because that's what America is doing at the moment. So if the president, who is the center of patriotism, is saying that the media is enemy of the state, then the people are going to believe, or the people who are passionate about it and the people who follow him are going to believe, yes, the media is the enemy of the state. So,
well, and I guess the leadership does set the tone on occasion, but I think that there have been some feelings of I don't know, bias that are just now allowing themselves to surface. And so I don't think this is anything new. I'm not necessarily sure if this is a result of the guy that's in the White House. These feelings have probably been there in some people's minds for decades. But, we've looked at a lot of things. You had a reporter that was banned from a White House briefing because she allegedly asked inappropriate questions. And so even when we look at the narrative about immigrants, and immigrants coming from other countries who are criminals and thugs and ne'er-do-wells. And we should bring more folks in from other nations, European nations who are more educated and refined. And so some of these immigrants that are here, that have come to the country, escaping persecution and other types of misgivings and misdeeds, they're looked at as not being patriotic. So what's your perspective on that, Money Marvin and Ambezi?
I just think that patriotism should just be looked at love for your country. First of all, these immigrants come here because they look at America as a place where you can be free. They look at America as a place of opportunity. So this country was founded on the sole purpose of it being a place where you could thrive. The American dream is the idea that you can come here and you can do whatever you want to do, no matter who you are, what race, religion, anything. That is what those are the values that this country was founded on. So, of course, immigrants come here when they're persecuted in their own country, because especially, Mexico and some of these other countries where their citizens are not being treated so well. Of course they come here because America was always advertised as that country that accepts all people, and when you get here you have a shot at that American dream. So I just think that if people disagree with that, technically that is being unpatriotic. Technically, even not letting that reporter in is not patriotic, because this country was founded on the principles of free speech, free religion. Doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, you can come to America and you can start this new life, and you can work towards being a productive member of this great country. So I think that's what patriotism is all about. It should be love for your country regardless of who is in it.
So, and you make some great points there, Mbizi. And, one of the things that is often overlooked, particularly when it comes to immigrants, one thing that we have to remember, you had immigrants, and to this day, who fought in our armed forces in many of the conflicts. And you've heard on the news in the last couple of weeks, you've had folks who have been in the armed services who had not finished the citizenship process, who were facing deportation, and folks who were injured fighting for our country. And how can you tell me that a person who is not even a citizen of your country, who is trying to get through the process to become a citizen, and now they are fighting a war on behalf of the country that is saying to them, you're not patriotic? How can you say that person is not patriotic? I don't understand that.
I mean, it's the same as saying, why do we see homeless veterans? Why do we see any of that stuff? Why is it that most of the front runners during the Vietnam and the First World War and the Second World War, a lot of the people in the front lines were black people, and then they come back to America and they treat them like crap? Like it's unfortunately that unfair cycle. It's very interesting, because when we're in the situations where we need people to fight for us, we're willing to call everybody a proud American. Oh, come serve your country. Come serve your country. But it's like, after that, like, where do we stand? I respect our military. I love our military. They do so much for us. But it's like, how can people go out there and fight for our country when they come home and they don't feel like they are being treated as a worthy member of this country? Like, that's not fair. People go and fight, leave their families, put their lives on the line, and then when they come back to the country that they fought for, they're not even treated right. Like, how does that even sound right?
Well, yeah, and you raise a great